Welcome and thank you so much for making time for this session. And I welcome you on this Aur Kitna Padhoge session. So we'll start
Thank you.
this.
Thanks for having me
So
here.
we'll start this.
Yeah.
So we'll start this conversation with a brief introduction of yours. So where you are working at present, what kind of research work you are doing. So yeah, it's up to you now.
Okay. So hello everyone, whoever is watching us right now. I'm Dr. Afreen Hussain. I did my PhD in coral biology from NIO, Goa, National Institute of Oceanography. Currently, I'm working as a scientist in Kuddle Life Foundation, which is an NGO working in marine conservation. We're basically more focused right now on installing and monitoring artificial reefs. As we know that the government of India has sanctioned to launch and deploy 300 artificial reefs across the fishing villages in India. So we are part of that initiative and we are deploying the artificial reefs in Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry and then monitoring their succession. So yeah, my work involves that currently.
In Tamil Nadu, only at the coast of like Tamil Nadu or all over Indian?
What we are doing is in Tamil Nadu, but the government is going to install them in all the coastal states of India: Odisha, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Goa, like that. All the fishing villages, some 300 fishing villages.
Okay.
So this is going to
regarding that so about this coral restoration, recently like I was hearing this news like mass bleaching of these corals. So it must have come to the Indian coast as well, isn't it? Coral bleaching.
Yeah, exactly. This year has been recorded as the fourth major mass bleaching event. It has been declared by NOAA. So we did surveys in Park Bay in Rameshwaram, and most of the reefs in the shallow areas were bleached because the temperatures have exceeded the threshold this year. The heat wave during the peak summer months, April, May, even people have reported in Lakshadweep, Andaman, Gujarat, all where we have the reefs in India, they have gone through bleaching. And I recently went to Sri Lanka, wherein I observed that even the shallow reefs there were completely bleached. And it was not just bleached, it had led towards mortality. So with the conditions like this and with the recurrent, with high frequency and intensity of heat waves, this is going to be a norm.
Yeah, like it's mass coral bleaching all over. And I had one more doubt, like how this natural bleaching occurs, if it occurs, and how much it is different than this related to heat wave and all. What's like actually difference between the normal coral bleaching and this?
So usually corals bleach when they are stressed. Normally it could be anthropogenic stress also. Like suddenly if there is some nutrient pollution in the water over there, they might bleach. So if you understand what is coral bleaching, it is the zooxanthellae, which is the symbiotic algae that lives inside the coral. If it is triggered by some stress, it just leaves the coral. It's like, I'm not going to stay here, I'm going to leave. So this algae provides the coral with its nutrition, 90% of the nutrition. So eventually when there is no symbiotic algae, the corals lose their color, they lose their nutrition, and that leads to whitening. That's the bleaching. And then if the zooxanthellae do not return back, the corals would eventually die. So this can happen because of multiple stressors. Temperature is one of the biggest cause. Then it could be high nutrient level, it could be acidification, it could be physical damage, or it could be some diseases, coral diseases. So in naturally, it happens because of eutrophication, if the nutrient levels are high and the corals could bleach, or if it is some physical stress that the corals are going through at that time, the bleach. But what we see because of the heat stress is something that is happening during the peak summer months. And this can be a natural occurrence also because during summers, they are experiencing higher temperatures and it can keep on happening. But if suddenly there's 2 to 3 degree higher temperature than normal, then it leads to the mass bleaching.
Okay. And as you just mentioned, like if they don't return back, so I just got this query. So it's like those same zooxanthellae, they'll come back, or from some other part, it will travel and get into that bleached coral?
That's the interesting part. So it could be the same thing that's returning back, or it could be something that is more resilient that's returning. So a lot of scientists are doing experiments on this to give them that adaptive resilience, where you input them with a more resilient zooxanthellae. Depending on what is available at that time in the water column, they could take the resilient one or they can take the same species also back. There have been incidences where 4 to 5 different species have been seen to be present in the coral. Yeah.
Oh, in the same
And that,
coral.
yeah, and that increases their resilience. So, yeah. A team in
Okay.
AIMS Australia is doing those experiments. It's very interesting.
Ah, you mean like in Great Barrier Reef in
Yeah.
Australia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, nice. And there are some heat-resistant coral as well. Those who can.
In lab, they're developing it, and there are certain species which are more resilient. Like if you see
Okay.
the plate coral turbine area, they're more resilient than the branching corals like Acropora.
Okay.
So in coral,
Yes, yes.
also there'll be some which are more resilient naturally, and some which are morphologically also they can be resilient.
Okay. Okay.
And
And when you
it
go
also
for.
depends their adaptive resilience. Like if they
Okay.
are undergoing bleaching every year, they might develop resilience. And if you have seen the
Okay.
corals in Gulf of Kutch, which are intertidal corals, they are surviving.
Mhm.
They are
Okay.
something unique. We also have those corals.
Okay. And when you go for this restoration, so you try to identify species which was already there and you restore that, or you try to put which is more resilient.
So this artificial reef, if you're talking about the artificial reef, we are not
Mhm.
restoring coral habitat over here. These are artificial reef where
Okay.
we are putting modules of cement there to start a
Okay.
reef formation. But when we do coral reef
Okay.
restoration, it can be more resilient species that are transplanted. Like there was an experiment
Okay.
done by ZSI where they transplanted
Okay.
species from Park
Mhm.
Bay and Tuticorin to Gulf of Kutch to see if they
Mhm.
will adjust. So it could be
Okay.
anything depending what's working.
Oh, okay. So that was more about your present work. So now coming to your PhD research, that was also about corals, isn't it?
Yeah,
Disease. Uh,
yeah. Yes.
and where was your research area during your PhD?
So I did my PhD on the corals of the central west coast of India, that is Malvan and
Okay.
Goa. So not many people know
Okay.
that, but Goa has a small island called Grand Island, which has a coral
Okay.
habitat. So it
Okay.
has some 20 species of hard coral. And that is what I was
Mhm.
studying. And then we have another coral habitat in Malvan Marine Sanctuary in Maharashtra.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we initiated this work under Maharashtra Gene Bank project,
Mhm.
and we studied their diversity, stresses, threats, and yeah,
Mhm.
what's it going through.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my
And
PhD work,
that
and I did it in NIO.
okay. And that brings me to the question, like, what your master's was in marine biotechnology,
Yeah.
and why you selected this topic, this coral? Why only this bleaching and all? What prompted you during your master's that you have to
Yeah.
study
Sometimes I
this?
forgot about that. So luckily, I went to Goa through this combined entrance of biotech that JNU conducts, and I was given Goa
Ah,
University. I come from
okay.
Lucknow, which is an inland city. I'd never seen ocean
Mhm.
before coming to Goa, but I was
Okay.
always interested to study the marine life. It seemed like something,
Mhm.
extraterrestrial, something
Mhm.
really beautiful. Just watching through
Mhm.
Nat Geo or Discovery Channel, that was my only source of, knowledge for it.
Mhm.
And then I got
Mhm.
Goa University to study marine biotech. And in
Mhm.
that, in the second year, I had a program of scuba diving. That was a part of our
Okay.
coursework. So yeah,
Okay.
I want to jump into the ocean and want to see real life. And yeah, I was not even a swimmer. I didn't know swimming. I learned swimming during my master's. We
Okay.
did this
Mhm.
scuba license. Then we went to the ocean to
Mhm.
see the reef. That was a part of our course. And that opened
Okay.
that world for me. I still remember my first dive. I puked,
Mhm.
I puked, I puked. And that day I thought,
Ah.
okay, I don't think so. I will carry on with this in my career. I don't think so. I'm
Mhm.
going to study
Mhm.
commodities or marine
Mhm.
life. I'm doing biotech. I
Mhm.
can enter industry. I can do so much. And then after my
Uh,
master's, I left. I went to DU. I was in Delhi University and then Hyderabad
mhm.
Central University doing biotech. I started missing
Okay.
ocean a lot. And then I came
Okay.
back to Goa. I came for the
Mhm.
interview for the PhD in NIO and I got through it. And then I thought,
Mhm.
what is that I'm really interested? What do I want to protect? What do I want to work on?
Mhm.
And those days
Mhm.
when I went diving, that was magical for me. And I I wanted to come and study that. Yeah. And that inspired me. Not just me, a lot of in my batch actually. It was always like Goa is homecoming, going back to the ocean. Once you see fish around you, you're in the natural habitat. I feel so much at peace there. I feel naturally peaceful there. So, yeah. And then over years in my PhD, I actually saw the aftermaths of bleaching, what's happening, what stresses are doing, and it became more emotionally connected to it. Something that I saw was vibrant, living, colorful, is dying. So yeah, I got more stressed about it that I have to work in it, and I want the future generations to see what I have seen. Yeah, it has to be protected. It has to be conserved, and like being in science has given me that opportunity to use science to protect it. That has been
And you just mentioned you went back to Delhi to the Miranda House or some other
I
institute
was
or
in
college.
the botany department. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? I think I lost you for a
Yeah.
while. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can hear you.
I went to the botany department, not in Miranda House. Yeah. So
Botany
few weeks
department.
I stayed there.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't remember also very much about it. It's been so many years. So under Dr. Manu Agarwal, yeah. So I was still thinking because I was an inspired fellow and I had the opportunity to register for PhD. So I was just weighing my options. What work do I like? Then I went to Hyderabad Central University also for animal biotech department. I just explored my options, and then I decided I want to study marine life again. Came back to it, and I gave me that opportunity.
And your bachelor's was in which subject actually?
Zoology honors. Yeah, from Miranda.
Zoology from Miranda.
And that
Nice.
also played a very major role because we had a museum where we had a lot of display of animals. If you have visited Miranda, you might have seen if you went to the zoology department. So we had the section where we had the marine invertebrates. And I remember seeing sponges, Leplectilla, Adensia. I'm like, I want to see this in real life. I want to see this underwater. So that also inspired. So the journey was there. I knew I want to move towards that, but I didn't know how. And it happened.
I did my bachelor's in microbiology. So and when I went, I had no idea. I had not much interest in this field actually. Now somehow I have named a species after my college, which is completely a zoology work now. So maybe this time when I go back, definitely I can have a visit if they allow to go and check in this Miranda house for that. And in fact, I had almost the same as you were telling, like you just wanted to come in touch with this marine life and you gave this CEB that time it was right?
Yeah.
Combined entrance examination for biotechnology. I gave the same exam and I got the same institute, Goa, for marine biotechnology. But it was that by that time I appeared for this as well, Pondicherry University. And Pondicherry University, knowing that campus is in Port Blair, so that fascinated me a lot, and I went to Port Blair.
Good choice, I think. That is also a good choice.
Yeah. And so, did you like how was your whole journey of PhD, doing PhD? Did you ever regret that I should have chosen, in biotechnology field?
Actually,
That thought appeared to you?
Everybody experiences that. Don't you think third year of PhD is the hardest way? Like, why did I register for PhD? Do you think I'm gonna finish? Will I ever finish? So yeah, third year was like that for me. First 2 years were fun. First year is when you're doing literature survey, you're just learning. It's just learning. It was fun, and I like to learn. Second year is actually when you start writing and you have to do field work. Third year, you see the challenges and failures. You face failures in third year of PhD. So even I experienced that, and it's like, do I need to do this? Should I drop out? I had those doubts. But luckily, I had a very good team. The lab was very supportive. I had a good supportive supervisor who pulled me through. Okay, it can be done. And then I started publishing paper. So that gives us that motivation. Okay, we are publishing, people are reading our work, it's worthwhile. And in third year, I applied for the Fulbright and Newton Bhabha. So that also just happened. I got those scholarships. I was like, okay, I can do this. This is gonna give me a good platform. So it worked, and
Mhm.
after that, it has been, I'm moving in that direction. But there were doubts at one point. I think everybody gets it, and
And what is the
especially
best
when we don't
part?
get the fellowships on time, and yeah, those things.
And you were Inspire Fellow, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Topper from Masters.
Topper from masters. But I got my first fellowship after 14 months. So yeah,
Oh,
that happened.
so apart from fellowship, like I hear it, those who are in right now also one of my friend is doing PhD in NIO Goa. So there you have this problem of fellowship not credited in time. So apart from fellowship, what were other difficulties you faced during your PhD?
Mm.
Sampling or something which
Since my
bothered
work
you
was
a
a
lot?
lot of field work related, I had to go diving in Malvan, and I don't speak the language
Mhm.
there. It
Mhm.
was challenging to connect with the local community. And at times, the
Mhm.
local communities think that we are threatening their world because they were doing tourism
Mhm.
scuba diving there, which was something that
Mhm.
we were not very, happy with the way they were conducting and the damage that they were causing to the reefs. We published study also on that. And then in the next field
Mhm.
was that we went, they were very hostile towards us. They didn't want us, they didn't want to rent place to us or take us to the sampling site. But
Mhm.
eventually we made peace with it and like it worked. But yeah, so we understood that when we have to work with the local community, we have to gain their trust. And doing it's
Mhm.
for the common good. If the reefs flourish there, it's going to flourish their work. The fisheries is going to go up. The tourism is going to be more successful. So it took us some time
Mhm.
to connect with the local community. And that was the biggest
Okay.
challenge.
And
And
how many
as a being a
dives you would have?
female, I during my PhD, I think I did some 60 dives. Those are the
Oh,
logged ones. And yeah.
okay.
So my
And
PhD guide was like, you are a female. Do you think you will be comfortable? Because the entire team was all males. But they all were
oh,
my very good friends. And we have to go stay
uh,
somewhere that you might not even have a washroom for yourself. Are you comfortable with that? And like, yeah, I have to do this. If
mhm.
I say no, then all the opportunities would be shut for me and I'll have to settle with something that I don't want to work on. So he also
Mhm.
understood it that if I want to do this, and there was a
Mhm.
green. Okay, go ahead, manage. Yeah, we managed.
And managed quite well. And
Thanks.
and
Yeah.
it was your I think third year or so when you got this Newton. You just mentioned right in third year only you got Newton Bhabha, right?
Yeah. Third year I got Newton Power.
Mhm.
Mm.
So how was your experience in Leeds?
Yeah, it was some of the best memories that I have from my PhD. It was not
Mm-hmm.
just the work, but connecting with people from different backgrounds and different work interests.
Mm-hmm.
It was more of modeling work that I was doing there and learning art and how it can be done. So it was a great
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to learn from different people. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and get the work done. They were doing sampling in Australia at that time, and I was just left with one person to learn and to follow. It was a
Mm-hmm.
great experience. I'm very thankful for DST and Newton Bhabha for starting this fellowship, where you can learn from the experts. And something that we are not doing over here in India right now. I got to learn that.
Okay.
Now we are
So
doing it,
maybe
but at that time it was new.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, many might not be even aware of this Newton Bhabha. Although I was, one of my friend told. So this is actually good opportunity. I think one can look for. And it is
Yeah.
like during your PhD you can apply, or like first year, second year, third year. Is it like there is any restriction? If you are a final year student, then you can't.
After first year that you can apply, and before the fifth
Okay.
year, you have to do it
Okay.
between your second to fourth year. And at that time, they
Okay.
were selecting 25 candidates from DBT with DBT or DST fellowship and 25 net
Mhm.
fellows. So they
Okay.
had that criteria. Yeah, it
Okay.
could have changed right now, but everything is available on their website, Newton Bhabha.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned like a prediction model. So how does it work? A disease prediction model for corals, right? So,
This was not disease, but this is for bleaching. prediction model. So I was doing the thermal stress. So if we have
Okay.
different reefs in India, particularly in India, and then studying the coral traits, there could be one
Mm-hmm.
coral which could be more susceptible to bleaching because of its morphology. It could
Mm-hmm.
have a finer tentacles, or it could have finer skeleton that makes it more susceptible. So like this, we collected some 12 to 15 parameters, and then we ran the model to see which species and which reefs are more vulnerable to bleaching in India.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like Kutch is more resilient, Park Bay is sensitive, Goa is
Okay.
also, it is the border. So those were the findings that way. Yeah.
And
Studying the
and
coral
actually,
trait.
and do you see any like corals from this part of the, for example, the southern part you are talking like Park Bay are like more susceptible? Is there is any rationale behind it? Ki why corals from this area are more susceptible for bleaching?
Because of the temperature extremes also. The temperature
Okay.
is higher in the southern hemisphere than in the western coast. And then these are very
Mm-hmm.
inshore coasts. They're very close to the coast. So they get a lot of anthropogenic influence also. That is another major reason. And then they are
Mm-hmm.
shallow reefs. So they are at the depth of 2 to 3 meters. You can stand there. So obviously the
Okay.
temperature, the sun illumination is also higher. The power index is also
Okay.
higher, as well as the temperature goes higher. So everything puts them at
Okay.
higher risk.
Okay. And I think these are your words only. 75% of global reefs are currently at risk due to global and local stressors. So
Yeah.
global, I can understand, must be heat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Heat
And
and
local
ocean acidification.
stressors,
That could be the
ocean acidification.
fishing. That could be fishing. That could be
Okay.
that could be nutrient overload. Like if the sewage has been released,
Okay.
that is a local stress. Then physical damage
Okay.
by tourists is a local stress. Yeah.
Okay. And I think this you gave somewhere in 2019 when I think you had one interview with USGS, and you said like if some of these are left unchecked, some of these stresses, the presently of like the threatened reef will increase to 90%. Right now, at that time it was 70% around
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
So what is the like 90% of these reefs, and we just saw last year this mass coral bleaching.
Yeah. So according to the model, by this 2050, if we do not
Yeah.
limit the temperature increase by 1.5 degree as suggested by Paris Agreement 2015,
Mhm.
we're going to lose 90% of the global coral reefs unless we come up with an intervention when we genetically modify them. Something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the corals, which has not happened yet, which has its
Mhm.
own bottleneck problem. So we are
Mhm.
at risk of losing major reefs of the world. Already
Oh,
we are seeing things happening. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that actually reminds me last time when I was having conversation with Dr. Roxy Call. He's one of the very known about
Yeah.
this atmospheric events and
Climate
all. So
scientists.
as you just mentioned, increase of 1.5 degrees, if it increases, that then we are going to have this bleaching. And what he was mentioning, even if we stop all the carbon dioxide production at present, still it's not possible to reduce it or keep it below 1.5. So that means this mass bleachings are inevitable. So they are going to happen anyhow
Yeah.
in coming future. And as you mentioned, 2030, I believe we are not much far seeing the mass coral bleaching. So what is the light at the end of tunnel? What is the ray of hope? Like how we can prevent it if we can?
Preventing is actually very hard unless we control our own CO2 emissions, and that too at the industrial level. Not much can be done at an
Hmm.
individual level compared to what the industries have to and the governments have to control. But provided
Hmm.
that, what as a scientist we can do is we are trying to develop
Hmm.
reefs which are more resilient or selecting species which are more resilient. So there's a team
Hmm.
that is selecting 50 reefs of the world which can be resilient and which can survive. And in future, these can be transplanted. So instead of restoration, people are
Okay.
moving towards transplantation, regenerative
Okay.
transplantation, where they can be transplanted and they can regrow the reefs. So that is one
Okay.
hope. that we identify those species and they can be transplanted in areas where we're losing the corals. That is what we are trying also. Yeah, trying to restore
Okay.
the habitat.
And like as we know, they harbor 25% of marine fauna. So
Yeah.
what do you think if they don't exist, what we hope that should not be the case, what are like its various implications can happen if this coral bleaching continues to happen, and unfortunately if we are not able to stop it or prevent it, what can be its implications to directly and indirectly to humans as well?
It will be like a disaster movie, catastrophic. The entire water
Uh-huh.
chemistry is gonna change because they harbor a lot of species and play major role in nutrient cycling and chemical composition of
Mhm.
the ocean. So entire thing is gonna shift. We're gonna lose major fisheries economically, ecologically. It's all gonna be broken. The system is gonna be broken. Then more CO2 will
Mhm.
be also in the environment because then we're gonna lose the corals which are holding CO2 in the form of their skeleton. So that's also gonna be in the
Mhm.
environment. Then they're also oxygen synthesizers. We're going to lose that. Phytoplankton is going to go down. The entire cycle of ocean that we know on will be broken.
Mhm.
It's hard to imagine also, but it's going to be catastrophic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
going to be bad. Yeah.
and kind of a self-feeding negative loop, what we usually mention when it comes to
Yeah.
glaciers and all those things. And it's sometimes for I think for normal laymen, it's hard to connect how it is related to fishery. Um, Coral bleaching, how they are related to fisheries and how will they impact the fishermen. I know
Yeah.
that there's an explanation, so please put some light on
So
that.
actually, the fishermen know this. I did a survey where they understand this that corals are the nursery grounds. So that is where the corals
Okay.
go to breed, and they are the nursery ground for the fish. So once
Hmm.
and they're hiding spaces because they have rock-like formation where there are small
Hmm.
crevices, and then the predator-prey relations are managed over there. So once we lose their homes, where are they gonna
Hmm.
go? In the open ocean where they have more predators for themselves. So it's just gonna top down break the pyramid. Yeah.
Hmm.
And the
Okay.
fishing community knows this. They understand it actually, what corals are doing.
Uh-huh.
But it's very hard, just like it's hard for us to take actions at an individual, it's very hard for them
Mhm.
also. Like, it's quick money, you
Mhm.
can get quick money by fishing in a reef area, or you have to
Mhm.
wait and understand where are the potential other fishing grounds. So they also go for the quick catch.
Okay. And just curious, like, what's the status of these corals in Indian waters? Like, about they are threatened or they are damaged or
So we
placed?
have reefs all around both the coast in Lakshadweep Islands, in Andaman Islands,
Mhm.
then in Park Bay. And in India, they
Mhm.
are under Schedule 1 species. Corals are protected species. We
Okay.
cannot touch them. We cannot collect them without permission.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we have a very large amount. We have 500 plus, 580 plus species in India. And globally, there are
Oh.
some 800 hard coral species. So we have a very bulk amount that we have. And they're protected
Mhm.
everywhere. But they are threatened because of the
Okay.
natural calamities, natural threats. That is something
Yeah.
which the governments have to understand and put more money into that research. It's very hard to do
Yeah.
research also in this field because we don't get the funding easily. People don't understand. And some people think it's just rock. It's not rock, it's a living animal that is
Yeah.
sustaining
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. True. True. And actually, how long this coral lives?
Corals can live for hundreds of years. Like some of the corals that we study are like
Okay.
100 years old because the growth rate is so slow. If you see a big
Okay.
boulder coral, that could be older than us. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And,
And
and the zooxanthellae inside?
they keep on shifting. So their cycle could be smaller. They keep on shifting and shuffling. They will live, they'll die, and then they breed also inside it. They will grow. And then they will
Oh.
shuffle again. That is switching. Mm.
Okay.
The coral
Okay.
as a
Now let's
host is there.
uh, for hundreds
Yeah.
of years.
Yeah.
And now let's come back to your how you got this Fulbright fellowship and how was that whole experience?
So I got to know about the Fulbright Fellowship in our institute. One of my senior had also availed it. And we got to know, okay, we can apply and this is such a great opportunity. You go to US for a few months, you work. So yeah, I applied for it, which was a very tedious application form. I think it took me days to apply. Pages of it where you have to write essay questions and character certificates, SOPs, proposals, and you have to get acceptance from a US university from your guide. Those things happen, and that is the first round. Then the second round, I was shortlisted for the interview. It's 2 rounds that you have to clear. And over months. So suppose I want to avail next year fellowship, I have to start applying from this year. It can take 8 to 10 months for the entire process. And like patient game, you have to be patient and just wait for it. And when I applied, they had just recently started this Climate-Kalam Fellowship, Fulbright-Kalam. So it was focused for people who are studying climate sciences. So that was a great platform to focus on climate science. And I was working in biology, so I had that section, biology and climate sciences. Yeah. And I went to USGS-National Wildlife Health Centre in Hawaii. It's a beautiful place to study. Hey, I'm going to Hawaii to study corals. Yeah, it didn't disappoint me. And then I got to learn. I had actually met my supervisor in a workshop in India, in Tuticorin, who is one of the experts in coral histology and coral diseases. And I was in touch with him to understand my own work, and I had doubts. And he was very patient with me, answer my questions, review my papers. And when I had the opportunity to ask him to be my supervisor, he was very happy to have me there, and it worked.
And you were there for 3 months, right?
I was there for 8 months.
8 months. Nice. How was that experience? Something peculiar which comes to your mind? Oh,
something peculiar. This is not related to work, but this is very peculiar.
Yeah, I know.
I was in a place
You have mentioned some.
Yeah. So during daytime, during the black surfing in Hawaii.
Okay.
So in the building, people used to have their lunch very quickly or skip the lunch, take the surfboards and go for surfing. Like in India, we're so used to, like if you're working, you just are supposed to work, go have lunch and come back to desk. That was something new. People are going surfing during their lunch breaks. That was fun to see. I tried, but I failed miserably. So work was fun. Work was also very fun.
And you enjoyed doing scuba with sea turtle and manta ray.
I was just looking for it. I wanted to see turtles. So yeah, it took me some months to sight them, but once I started sighting, they were everywhere. Yeah. And then I did some dives with the fisheries over there.
Okay. And what was your work there actually as a Fulbright fellow?
Yeah. So I was studying the role of heat shock protein in Aiptasia, which is a model organism for coral. Since we didn't have the permission to collect corals in India, I wanted to study something that I can come back and replicate in India. So we chose a model organism, which is lemon, and we did heat stress experiments and salinity shock to see how are they reacting, where is the heat shock protein being expressed. So we wanted to see where is the differential expression, which was not studied so far, by using the tool of immunohistochemistry. And we wanted to observe whether the papillae are producing it or the ovaries, oocytes are producing. That was the motive to see where the shock proteins are produced in the corals and what is the threshold for it. And yeah, we observed just now 31 degree was the threshold. Above 31 degree, they started producing, upregulation of heat shock proteins in different organelles.
Okay, which help them survive at higher temperature.
Yeah, which it is a protective measure for the corals. And then when we combined different standards, we saw that their ability to cope with it was going down. If I put them under 2 or 3 different factors like temperature, heat, and temperature, salinity, and hypo and hyper both, I tried. And we saw that they were more affected by it. But if it is just heat shock, it could withstand at 31 degree. And
Okay.
salinity also played a big role.
Okay. As in natural system, it will be all combined, not
Yeah,
only
yeah.
heat.
That was the
Yeah.
aim of trying to do that. Yeah.
And it was coral cells which were producing heat shock proteins or zooxanthellae.
It was corals also as well as the zooxanthellae. Both were producing. So that was the role of seeing differential expression. We observed that they were produced by the epidermal cells also as well as the oocytes of the coral
Okay.
host. And the zooxanthellae were also producing. So it's a mixed
Okay.
reaction. They both are under stress, but zooxanthellae
Mhm.
played a major role. They won't be able to withstand, they will leave. And then the coral has
Oh,
to manage it itself.
oh, nice.
Mm.
These kind of studies have been done in India or someone is doing?
Not that I know of. I have to do, like, I have to continue with that work. So hopefully anybody who's listening and wants to pick up a PhD topic can go ahead with it. Something like
Mhm.
this. Get hold
Yeah.
of it
Uh,
or get permission to corals. Yeah.
right there, there's one research gap. You don't have to go through literature much to find a gap. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, that is a big question. Yeah, and then it varies from region to region. What I collected there might be very different from what's available in India. And if we
Mhm.
can work on coral, there's so much to observe, so much to explore.
Okay. And okay, the other question, as I was like discussing you before that, as a woman scientist, what difficulties you thought it was just because of because I'm not the other gender, I would have faced lesser difficulty if I was a other person. What difficulties you faced as a female scientist?
Yeah, I think everybody else also experiences that. So there's a bias that you cannot do a lot of field work or you wouldn't be able to carry your tanks that we had
Mhm.
to. So initially
Mhm.
those things, you cannot go for field work alone also. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, then the team understood, okay, it's possible. We built a team of women, like we were two, three girl divers in the team. We pulled
Mhm.
it off. We did it. And then even we
Mhm.
supported the other male counterparts. We could manage things that they were not able to manage at that time. It
Mhm.
worked. It just needed, we had to have faith in ourselves. That was the most important thing. And then the
Mhm.
passion for the work. Everybody faces some bias or some difficulties in all their
Mhm.
workspaces. Then we have to believe what are our strengths. I could have some strengths and some weaknesses, and we have to identify that
Mhm.
and work as a team.
Mhm. And last time I asked this question to Madhusri when I was having the, as you have been through it, what would you suggest to the PIs, to the institutes, how they can make the environment more nourishable and more, positive for women scientists? So what would you suggest as you have also been, through a proper grind. So what would you suggest to the institutes and the PIs, what they can do from their end?
Hire more women. Hire more
Uh-huh.
women. If there are more people, more gender equality, it's gonna be very
Mhm.
comfortable for everyone. If you have one woman and
Okay.
15 guys, the guide is
Mhm.
also gonna be a little careful. Everybody's gonna be a
Mhm.
little conscious. But if you have a gender equality, it's gonna
Mhm.
be comfortable. So they have to hire more, trust the women too
Mhm.
that they can do field work, they can do whatever the guys are
Mhm.
doing. And now
Mhm.
women are proving to do whatever is possible. Like everybody can do all the work. And
Mhm.
we have seen, and we all know that women have better strengths in the
Mhm.
lab work. They're more organized.
Mhm.
So use that for the favor. Like, use women in the lab.
Mhm.
They're better there.
Mhm.
Identify the strength of people, and everybody is different. I'm better at field. I prefer to be in the field.
Mhm.
Some other girl would be better in the lab. Let her work
Mhm.
in the lab. So that's what we used to have this discussion with RPI also.
Mhm.
We had a friendly relation. We have to have more women in the workforce. That's the
Mhm.
easiest solution.
Mhm. Okay, and the best part of your research till now, what you feel like this is the best part of my research, what I'm doing, which keep you motivated.
Yeah, going back to the field, diving again. That's the best part. scientific diving, seeing things like, and every time when I enter the water again, there's something that I've never seen before. So that keeps me moving. When I'm not there, I miss it. That's something, okay, I have to do that. Yeah.
And what would be your take-home message at, like, we are nearing to the end of our conversation. What would be your take-home message from your journey to someone who is listening to uh, that
Anybody
they
who
should keep
wants
this in their mind?
anybody who wants to do PhD, choose a topic or do PhD when you're passionate about it. Like I also took my own time. I took a year off to decide what I want to work on. Do I want to do PhD? Is it for me? So it's not going to pay us a lot during that time. It's going to be very hard, especially if you're doing it in India. There are going to be a lot of difficulties, administrative problems. Then you might want to change your topic or your guide. Those difficulties, everybody faces those things. But if you know what you're working on is something that you're passionate about, we pull it through. And that is what gives us happiness at the end of the day. Follow passion, follow your work. And I know when I say this, it feels like I come from a privileged state where I can say I could follow my passion. But till a point, we can fool ourselves and others that we are doing something because we are interested in it. But at the end, maybe after a year or two, or in the third year, when we are at the bottom of PhD, then you're going to realize that this is not for you. So we have to do something that we are actually interested in. And not everybody has to do PhD. We can do something else and contribute to the society, contribute to the economy. Not just PhD. There are so many avenues. And PhD is just a journey to learn things. It's for a it's like a training. It's not expected that we'll do some rocket science or we'll get a Nobel Prize. Well, it's great if you can do it. But even if you cannot, it's for the capacity building. It's for us to learn things that we can apply, even in our personal lives and in our professional lives. It teaches us patience. It teaches us to trust our instinct. Yeah. You got your PhD recently. You must have also experienced the same thing. It teaches us to stay focused and be patient.
True.
Anybody who wants to do PhD.
And recently, like, someone asked me on Instagram, a person messaged me that he is in some 12th standard or something, and he want to do something in field of conservation. So shall he go for a PhD or so? And if not PhD, then what are other ways he can stay connected with conservation efforts? As you have been, associated with climate actions and various platform where, you are collaborating with youths and motivating them. What would you suggest? It's not only the PhD which can make their way to the conservation. What are other ways you will suggest?
So we can contribute to that from any field. Like I have worked with people who are not from PhD background, who are not from science background even. That there will be somebody from a journalist or a social worker. Depending what is the end goal, what we want to do. There are different paths to reach there. You can be an engineer and develop a technology that's going to help in conservation or to aid in monitoring. You could be a social worker who is directly working with the communities. Yeah. It's not necessarily that we have to do PhD. Right? You can contribute. But if you want to understand
there are
maybe somebody who likes to get into it, like how I think we like it, then you have to do PhD to understand it fully, get to the science of it. Either way, we can
definitely not for the financial sake of.
Yeah, definitely not. Now with the increased fellowship, it's still better, but it's obviously with those many years, it's not at par with the industry. But whatever people are passionate about depends on that. So there can be different avenues. Not necessarily somebody has to do a PhD. You can go for AI science. Do that. Contribute to it. Contribute to conservation. Use your money for it. Be a funder for our research.
Yeah. True. Yeah, conservation science truly need quite a lot of funding from private, I think, entrepreneurs and all, because
Yeah.
there's a very less amount of funding available when it comes to ecology or conservation
Yeah.
kind of work. Okay, so
Especially for
yeah. So before I move to my last question, we'll just scroll through the comments if there is any question, because sometimes we miss it. So maybe you can just scroll it
yeah.
if there is any comment, any question for you.
Hmm.
Uh, so one person has excellent experience sharing session.
Yeah. You can see a question, but anybody who is watching and have some questions, they can post us.
Yeah,
Like I'm there on time.
yeah,
There.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and you can post that question. This recording will be available, so you can put your questions in the comments, and Afrin would, if whenever she gets time, she will be. I think she might answer that. And
Answer.
thank you so much for joining. And this is my last question to end with. How many times, or still people ask you, और कितना पढ़ोगे?
Okay. That happens like every month. Okay. Whenever I'm talking to some relative or somebody, what are you doing right now? I am studying this. I'm working on this. कितना पढ़ोगे? कितना पढ़ोगे? When is it's gonna end? I also just like to joke. I'm gonna do this all my life. This is my life. I'm gonna study. So I just give it back that way. It's fun. We are
Okay.
lucky that we are getting to learn to study.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. So
thank you.
we got the answer. You, it's infinite. That is true for any scholar if they want to continue in this field. You got a question: how to get scuba diving license?
The dive schools all over India, depending where you are, there are dive schools in Pondicherry, there are dive schools in Goa. They give you a license. They will train you in the pool, 2 days of pool session, then 2 days of open ocean, and then you get the license. If you are a swimmer, great. If you're a non-swimmer, even then you can get the license. They're going to train you. So it's a 4 days open water course costing around 18 to 20K, 4 days, 4 dives. And then the scuba school will take care of it. So you can tell me your region, whoever has this question, and I can connect you with the dive schools over there. There are dive schools all over India now, TADI or SSI.
Yeah. So Mustafa can, if you want to go any particular state, you can come in. That you belong to this state and a nearby scuba, and I think this you can find online. Uh,
Yeah,
uh, all those scuba diving schools. They are
and
they
if
are
you do it in a
there.
group, you get discounts also. Like if you do with your friends or as a batch, then
Hmm.
we get discounts.
Okay. So I think that's it. Uh,
Okay.
Thank you so much, Afrin, for sharing your experience and taking time out to have this discussion and conversation here. And I hope
Thank you so much.
to, to listen to all other stories, beautiful stories from Hawaii sometimes in person.
Sure.
So thank you
I'm
so much
looking
for
forward to
joining.
listening to your stories also and learning about your new species. I want to know about it. I'm
Yeah,
going to read about it now. Okay. Thank you so
yeah.
much. And this is a great
Thank,
initiative. All the best. Talk to you soon again.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. See you. And thank you so much, everyone who joined and listened to, and Mustafa for asking your question. And next week again, I'll be here with another session. So, and if you want to suggest any of your friend or you yourself, please comment. I'll try to approach them and try to get them here. Or kitna padhoge.